Kia ora, Lara here, and I am sharing layout 12 that I've created for the 30-day challenge that is put on with Christy's Beautiful Life. My name on YouTube and Instagram is Scrappykea. I'm using today a gorgeous sketch by Laura Whitaker, which she put together for Scrapping Around the Block, and I will link that up below. So thank you, Laura, for creating this sketch that I've pretty much used as is. So normally I sort of play around with sketches and change things around and make it fit what I'm doing, but for this sketch it just fitted really nicely with the page I was creating. So I needed a circle shape as part of the sketch, and looking around my space rather than creating a cut file or grabbing a circle and cutting it on the Cricut, I just used a cup that I had all my tools in that I've now emptied out there and drew around that with a pencil, and now I'm just cutting around the edge. There's no need for perfection on this one. It's not something that needs to be super straight or perfect circles or anything like that. This paper that I've got in the background here is one it was actually from an outdoorsy collection. It's an older collection. I don't think it's still available, but I think that came out last year, and so that was sort of a watercolour one. It came in a scrapbooking kit, and I've used the rest of the kit for lots of things, but it was just a leftover piece. It had some beautiful watercolour-y kind of things on it with the pink. And the other paper that I've cut the circle out on is from the Sawyer collection, so I think there is some of that still available at Close to My Heart. So the photo that I am scrapbooking is just my cup of coffee sitting on the table I was working at school. It was just one of those days where I just really felt that I needed just something extra to get through the day, just tiring, just lots of stuff going on. And so I messaged my daughter, who I knew was at home, and asked if she wouldn't mind sort of getting me one, and she did. So that was really nice of her. She just brought it in one of our takeaway cups from home, but popped into the coffee cart not far from school. One of my parents at the end of last year gave me a card with lots of coffees on it from that coffee cart, so I gave that to Alicia to use to purchase me a coffee. So it was just perfect, and it hit the spot beautifully, and I did get through the rest of the day with a little bit more energy. So part of that is that I used to have sort of probably 3 or 4 coffees a day, and 2 of them were pretty much before I left the house in the morning. However, late last year I sort of gave up coffee, and I have these fizz stick things instead that have got caffeine in them with green tea and stuff, but just nice waking up in the morning and not having to have a coffee, but some days just want to need a coffee, and that was one of those days, and that's absolutely fine. It's just nice not to know that I need one every day. Anyway, so I'm going to trim this down to make a square, this sort of spotty paper, which is part of the mix-in collection from January and February with Close to My Heart, and I'm cutting a square, and then I'm going to cut from point to point to create a triangle that sits down on the left of this layout that Laura Whitaker had designed the sketch of. So just popping those pieces down there, and then I'm going to cut that triangle in half again. I just had to work out what the measurement for that base was so that I could make sure I was doing it halfway, and slicing that in half. So that gave me the smaller triangle for the top. So with this sketch, I don't think I have gone exactly size-wise and things, but I've pretty much kept to the different shapes and the different elements that are on here. So I'm using that smaller triangle, and I'm just going to trim that down to create sort of a banner, and so to do that I just snip in the middle and then go in from each side to create that. So that's just the back of that spotty paper that I've used for the triangles. So it's great having double-sided papers because you can play around with the scraps and use them differently. So earlier I cut a piece of the other side of this for backing my photo. It's sort of a grey marl, like a t-shirty kind of thing, and on that there was quite a cool zip strip with stars on it, and I just felt that fitted the classroom setting. So on this day I have some release time, and so it was during my release time that I took this photo while I was doing some paperwork and stuff, and perhaps it was that I was doing paperwork that made me feel so tired. I find that when I am teaching or working with the students, I often feel more energized, just their enthusiasm and excitement about what they are doing sort of helps to keep me feeling more energetic as well. So I am just sticking all of these elements down and then roughing up the edges as I go. A little bit after this, I realized that I should have stuck the circle down before I stuck these pieces down, but that's okay, that's just the way it is, and that's fine. So I decide that this star does need to stick out a little bit further because that banner is a little bit wider, and it needed to sort of peek out, otherwise there was no point sticking it down. So I'm going to go around the edge of this banner with just a normal black pen, just to give it a little bit more definition, and carrying on wrinkling up the edges. And next is the circle, when I think actually I should have already stuck that down, but I'm just going to go around the edge with the bolder white pen. This is, I think, a 10 nib or something like that. It does leave a lovely white line, and I'm really enjoying having these pens for a few different things, which is great, having a white pen option, especially on darker papers, sort of like this one is. So I backed the photo and stuck it to the circle, and then I'll stick both of them down together. Cool. And so that is there. So the next thing I need to do is the banner that I sort of fussy cut from some of the Sawyer collection papers. I'm just going to put a dot of glue on each of those semicircles and then just glued that down. So there is a nice banner in the sketch as well, so that just fitted nicely. Now this smile is also from the Sawyer collection. It is just a chipboard word, and it just felt like it fitted as a nice title for this because she brought me coffee, and yes, of course I had to smile just seeing it sitting there at the table as I was working away. So there's the little eye, the dot for the eye here, so I'm just going to glue that down as well, and I will use some more of those chipboard shapes in a bit, but I'm just going to finish sticking down the top corner. So this sketch has quite a cool balance in that there's triangles on both sides, and I do try to bring the colours onto both sides. So once I do put this together, I realise it's missing a little bit of yellow, and I find I find a way to add some yellow up there to sort of balance it out with what's going on at the bottom, but keeping the bottom shapes bolder. So there's some more of that star zip strip, and just tucking that down there as well. So finger tapping there as I think, okay, what am I going to embellish this with? And I decide to do some lines while I think, and then I'm going to add some journaling eventually down the bottom there, just explaining, here we go, explaining why I'm taking this photo and how nice it was to have a coffee just to get through the day, because some days are just coffee kind of days. So this is just using the finer nibbed journaling pen that Close to My Heart has, and it just seemed to work in there without dominating the page but still tucking that in. I do find a lot of sketches don't seem to have a space for journaling specifically. There's always lots of spaces that can be added, but I often find I'm just sort of thinking, hang on, where am I going to put this? For me, having journaling on a page is a big part of that storytelling, or part of why I do these scrapbook pages, because if someone's looking at this, one of my kids perhaps, maybe they will, maybe they won't, I'd like them to know why I stuck this random photo on a page with a title and felt that it was worth putting on there. So you can see up the top there I've added one of those little yellow Sawyer flowers, and I'm adding a sort of more paler yellow, and that's from the In Full Bloom sticker collection. So I've got another sort of shape here, or a flower here, from the Sawyer collection stickers, and now I'm pulling out some more of these chipboard shapes. So there's that nice mint that I've used in the title that I decided to keep up the top as well, so again that's adding that extra balance element into the layout. So just pulling off the colours that are all part of that chipboard sheet and just pulling the flowers that are a similar shape that'll just fit in both spots there. And so happy with how this is coming about. And again, thank you, Laura, for the sketch. Thank you for Christy to pulling all these sketches together so that we are able to use them and to be inspired by all of these great sketch artists. And have a look at the links below for other scrapbookers who have been also interpreting the different sketches, and see if you can find what they've done with Laura's sketch today that I've shared as well. Here's just some close-ups while I finish up. Thanks for watching.